I am Mason, 22 years old, and I grew up in a middle-class family in suburban Minnesota. Computers fascinated me since I was 8, building my first from scraps I found at yard sales. During senior year, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously, saving every penny, until I finally had $2,300 for my dream gaming PC. Then one day I came home to find it gone, replaced by a hastily scribbled note from my dad. Ever had something you worked so hard for just taken away? Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from. And hit that subscribe button if you want to hear how I turned this betrayal into the best decision of my life. Growing up in our 4-bedroom house in Maple Grove, Minnesota, I always knew I was second best in my parents' eyes. My sister Brianna, who is 2 years younger than me, somehow always ended up with the newest clothes, the latest phone, and the most attention. When she wanted to join the cheerleading squad, my parents immediately purchased a $500 uniform. When I asked for a $50 science camp fee, I was told to mow lawns to earn it myself. My father, Robert, worked as a middle manager at Midwest Insurance Group. He made decent money enough for us to live comfortably, but he constantly reminded us how hard he worked for every dollar. My mother, Diane, sold real estate part-time, mostly to her friends in the neighborhood. Her commission checks were sporadic, but always seemed to arrive just in time for Brianna to get something she wanted. "Your sister is more sociable," my mother would say when I questioned the imbalance. "She needs to make the right impression. You are more of an indoor kid anyway." That indoor kid spent hours disassembling old computers, figuring out how they worked, and dreaming of building my own powerful system. By 13, I knew I wanted to become a software developer. I shared this dream with my parents during dinner one night. "Computers are just a hobby, Mason," my father said, barely looking up from his plate. "You need a real career with security, like insurance or banking." Despite their lack of support, I remained determined. The summer I turned 16, I got my first job stocking shelves at Anderson Grocery. The manager, Mrs. Anderson, appreciated my punctuality and work ethic, so she gave me as many hours as legally possible for a high school student. "You are saving up for college?" she asked one day while I was organizing inventory. "No, for a computer," I replied. "A really good one that can handle programming and game development." "That is an investment in your future too," she said, with a nod of approval. Encouraged by her words, I added a second job during my junior year, working weekends at Burger Barn. The hours were long. The smell of grease clung to my clothes, and balancing work with schoolwork was challenging. But every dollar brought me closer to my goal. By senior year, I added a third income stream, doing lawn care in summer and snow removal in winter. My schedule was brutal. School from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Grocery store from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. On weekdays, Burger Barn on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and yard work whenever I could fit it in. In a small notebook, I tracked every penny I earned. Each night before bed, I would update my savings total, watching the number slowly climb. $200, $500, $1,000. After 18 months of constant work, I finally reached my goal of $2,300. During those months of saving, I spent countless hours researching computer components. I created spreadsheets comparing different processors, graphics cards, and motherboards. I analyzed benchmarks and read reviews. I knew exactly which parts would give me the best performance for my budget. My dream configuration included an AMD Ryzen processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 1 terabyte solid-state drive, and a graphics card powerful enough to run game development software smoothly. This PC would be my gateway to learning coding at a higher level, creating my own games, and eventually getting a scholarship to study computer science. While my classmates spent their money on clothes, concert tickets, and fast food, I put every dollar toward my goal. I missed parties, I skipped movies, I brought packed lunches instead of buying food. The sacrifice would be worth it, I told myself. This computer represented more than just a machine. It was my future. "You are going to strain your eyes staring at screens all day," my mother would comment whenever she saw me researching components online using the ancient family desktop. "At least get something useful like a car instead," my father suggested repeatedly. But I remained focused on my goal. A car would depreciate, but a computer would help me build skills that would last a lifetime. Besides, in Minnesota, The bus system was adequate for getting to my jobs. The computer was my priority, my dream, my future. The day I withdrew my savings from the bank was one of the happiest of my life. $2,300 in cash secured in an envelope in my backpack. I rode the bus to Harvey Computer Solutions, a local store owned by Mr. Harvey, a former software engineer who had opened his own business after retiring from the corporate world. The bell jingled as I pushed open the door, and Mr. Harvey looked up from behind the counter where he was repairing a laptop. "Well, if it is not my favorite young computer enthusiast," he said with a smile. "What brings you in today, Mason?" I placed my backpack on the counter and carefully removed the envelope. "I saved up enough to build my PC," I announced proudly. "I want to buy all the components today, if that is okay." Mr. Harvey raised his eyebrows, impressed. "That is quite an accomplishment. Most kids your age would not have the discipline. Let me see your parts list." I handed him the carefully printed spreadsheet of components I had selected. He studied it, nodding occasionally, sometimes making small notes in the margins. "This is a solid build," he said finally. "You have done your research. Did you want to take the parts home and assemble it yourself? Or would you like me to help you put it together here?" "Could we build it here?" I asked eagerly. "I have assembled computers before, but never with new parts. I would appreciate your expertise." "Of course," Mr. Harvey said. "No charge for the assembly. Consider it my way of supporting a future colleague in the industry." For the next 3 hours, Mr. Harvey and I collected each component from the shelves, confirming compatibility and discussing the merits of each piece. When all the parts were gathered on his workbench, we began the assembly process. Mr. Harvey let me do most of the work, guiding me when necessary, explaining best practices for cable management and thermal paste application. When we finally connected the power supply and pressed the button, the system came to life with a soft hum and glowing blue lights. "We need to install the operating system and run some stress tests," Mr. Harvey said, "but so far everything looks perfect." By closing time, my new computer was fully operational. Mr. Harvey helped me carefully pack it into the original box of the case, securing it with extra padding. "Take good care of this investment," he said as I prepared to leave. "And stop by any time if you have questions or need upgrades." "Thank you for everything," I replied, barely able to contain my excitement. The bus ride home felt interminable. I clutched the box containing my new computer, ignoring the curious glances from other passengers. When I finally arrived home, I hurried to my bedroom, clearing space on my desk for the new system. Setting up the computer in my room was a ceremonial moment. I arranged the tower monitor, keyboard, and mouse, just so making sure the cable management was as neat as Mr. Harvey had taught me. When I pressed the power button and saw the monitor light up, I felt a surge of pride unlike anything I had experienced before. The first few days with my new computer were pure bliss. I installed development environments for Python, Java, and C++. I downloaded game engines and tutorial files. I set up a GitHub account to start building a portfolio of coding projects. In the evenings, as a reward for my hard work, I played a few of the games I had been eager to try, marveling at how smoothly they ran on my new system. My parents barely acknowledged my achievement. When I invited them to come see the computer, my father glanced at it for a few seconds. "Seems like a lot of money for something that will be obsolete in a year," he remarked, before returning to the living room to watch television. My mother at least pretended interest. "It is very nice, dear. Just do not stay up too late playing those games. And remember to focus on your college applications." Brianna was less subtle about her feelings. "So that is what you wasted all your money on," she said, standing in my doorway with arms crossed. "You could have bought a car or gone on a trip with your friends. What a waste." "It is not a waste," I defended. "This is an investment in my future. I am going to learn skills that will help me get into a good computer science program." Whatever, she scoffed. "Some of us have actual lives instead of sitting in front of screens all day." Despite their lack of support, I remained proud of what I had accomplished. This computer represented countless hours of hard work, sacrifice, and determination. It was mine, earned through my own efforts, and no one could take that away from me. Or so I thought. The following Friday, my friend Tyler invited me to join him and his family at their cabin for the weekend. Initially, I was reluctant to leave my new computer, but Tyler insisted it would be good for me to get some fresh air and celebrate the end of our senior year. After some consideration, I agreed. I will be back Sunday evening, I told my parents as I packed a small bag. You can reach me on my cell phone if you need anything. Have fun, sweetie, my mother said distractedly. My father simply nodded, barely looking up from his newspaper. Little did I know that this would be the last time I would see my precious computer. The weekend at Tyler cabin flew by in a blur of fishing, hiking, and late-night conversations around the campfire. For the first time in months, I completely disconnected from technology and enjoyed being present in the moment. Tyler's parents made me feel welcome, treating me like part of the family. His father even took time to ask about my interest in computers and seemed genuinely impressed by my determination to become a software developer. You have got a good head on your shoulders, Mason, Mr. Anderson said. That kind of work ethic will take you far in life. His words meant more to me than he probably realized. Hearing an adult affirm my choices and efforts was a novel experience. By Sunday afternoon, I was actually feeling a bit sad to leave the cabin, but also excited to get back to my coding projects. Tyler dropped me off at my house around 6 p.m. Thanks for coming, man, he said. Same time next year. Definitely, I replied, waving as his car pulled away. I entered the house through the front door, calling out a greeting that went unanswered. My parents' car was in the driveway, so I knew they were home, probably watching television in the basement, as they usually did on Sunday evenings. Brianna's door was closed, music thumping behind it. I headed straight to my room, eager to check on my computer. The moment I opened my bedroom door, I felt something was wrong. The space where my PC tower had stood was empty. The monitor was still there, as were the keyboard and mouse, but the heart of the system was gone. My first thought was that someone had broken in and stolen it. I searched my room frantically, looking under the bed and the closet, anywhere it might have been moved. That is when I noticed the folded piece of paper on my desk. With trembling hands, I unfolded the note. Mason, we had to sell your computer. Brianna needed money for college expenses. You can save up again. Dad. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. College expenses. Brianna was only a high school junior and had shown little interest in academics. What college expenses could she possibly have now? In a daze, I walked downstairs to the living room, where I found my parents watching a reality show. My father noticed me first, his expression hardening as he saw the note clutched in my hand. You sold my computer. My voice cracked with emotion. We needed the money, he stated flatly. Your sister had expenses we had to cover. What expenses? I demanded, my shock giving way to anger. She is not even in college yet. My mother shifted uncomfortably on the couch. Well, not exactly college expenses. Brianna is going on a spring break trip to Cancun with her boyfriend Ethan and some friends. It is an educational experience exploring another culture. I could not believe what I was hearing. You sold my computer that I worked 3 jobs to pay for so Brianna could go to Mexico for spring break. She deserves a nice vacation, my mother defended. She has been working so hard on her cheerleading, and this trip is important for her social development. I worked for that money. I shouted, losing control of my emotions. I saved for over a year. That computer was mine. My father stood up, his face reddening. Do not raise your voice in this house, young man. Everything under this roof belongs to us as your parents. We decide what happens to it. How much did you even get for it? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. $1,500, my father replied. The guy said it was already depreciating in value. $1,500. They had sold my $2,300 computer that I had meticulously researched and carefully assembled for $1,500 to fund my sister vacation. You stole from me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. That is enough, my father warned. You can save up again if it is so important to you. You are being selfish, not thinking about your sister's needs. Before I could respond, Brianna bounded down the stairs wearing a brand new outfit I had never seen before. Mom, Dad, look what I got for the trip. She twirled around, showing off an expensive-looking sundress. She stopped when she saw me. "Oh, you are back. Did you know they sold my computer to pay for your trip?" I asked her directly. She shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "They said you would not mind. Besides, I needed new clothes for Cancun. You can just build another one, right?" The casual dismissal of my hard work and sacrifice was the final straw. I felt something break inside me, a fundamental trust that I had not even realized was still there. "This is wrong," I said, looking at each family member in turn. "What you did was wrong." "That is enough," my father said, his tone dangerous. "Either accept it and move on or find somewhere else to live. I will not have this attitude in my house." I looked at my mother, hoping for some support, but she averted her eyes. Brianna smirked, slightly secure in her position as the favored child. Without another word, I turned and went back to my room, closing the door behind me. I sat on my bed, the note still clutched in my hand, and for the first time since I was a small child, I cried. Not just for the computer, but for the realization that my family did not respect me, my work, or my dreams. In that moment, I knew something fundamental had changed. The question was, what was I going to do about it? The days following the discovery of my missing computer were some of the most difficult of my life. I moved through the house like a ghost, leaving early for school and staying late at work, doing anything to avoid interacting with my family. Meals were taken in silence, or skipped entirely. When forced to be in the same room as my parents or Brianna, I answered questions with single words, avoiding eye contact. My bedroom, once my sanctuary, now felt tainted. The empty space on my desk was a constant reminder of the betrayal. I unplugged the monitor and keyboard, storing them in my closet, because I could not bear to look at them. 3 days after the incident, I called Tyler from the break room at the grocery store. They did what he exclaimed after I explained what happened. "That is messed up, man. They cannot just take your stuff and sell it." "Apparently they can," I replied, the bitterness evident in my voice. "My dad says everything under their roof belongs to them." "That is some twisted logic," Tyler said. "What are you going to do?" I sighed, leaning against the wall. "I do not know. I graduate in 2 months. I was planning to stay home during community college to save money, but now, you know, you can stay with us if you need to." Tyler offered immediately. "My parents have that spare room in the basement. They love you, man." The offer was tempting, but I felt reluctant to impose. "Thanks, Tyler. I might take you up on that, but let me think about it." After work that evening, I made a detour to Harvey Computer Solutions. The store was quiet, with only Mr. Harvey behind the counter working on a customer laptop. "Mason." He greeted me warmly, then frowned as he saw my expression. "Is everything all right? Having trouble with the new system?" I shook my head and told him what had happened. His face darkened as I spoke. "That is not right," he said when I finished. "Not right at all. Parents should support their children's dreams, not sabotage them." "I do not know what to do," I admitted. "I cannot stay there, but I do not have enough saved for my own place yet." Mr. Harvey thought for a moment. "I need help around the store. Summer is coming and business picks up with all the computer repairs. If you want more hours, I can put you on the schedule. Maybe even teach you some advanced repair techniques. Better pay than the grocery store, too." "Really?" I asked, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in days. "Really," he confirmed. "You have got talent, Mason. Do not let this setback derail your future." I thanked him profusely, promising to discuss a schedule soon. As I walked home, I felt slightly lighter, knowing I had at least one adult in my corner. That evening, I overheard my parents and Brianna in the kitchen laughing about something. Curious, I paused in the hallway just out of sight. "You should have seen the resort website," Brianna was saying excitedly. "They have 3 pools and a private beach. Ethan says his parents stayed there last year, and it is amazing." "You will have such a wonderful time, sweetheart," my mother replied. "Make sure to take lots of pictures for us." "I still need to get a new swimsuit," Brianna added. "The ones from last summer are so out of style." "We will go shopping this weekend," my mother promised. "Just do not max out another credit card," my father said, but his tone was indulgent, not angry. I stood frozen in the hallway, listening to them plan more expenses for a vacation funded by the theft of my computer. The casual way they discussed spending even more money while I worked double shifts to rebuild my savings made my stomach churn. The final straw came 2 weeks later. I arrived home from work to find my belongings moved from my bedroom to the small guest room at the end of the hall. My former room was being redecorated with new paint and furniture. "What is going on?" I asked my mother, who was supervising the delivery of a new desk for what had been my room. "Oh, Brianna needed more space for her things," she explained casually. "This makes more sense since you are hardly ever home anyway. The guest room is perfectly adequate for your needs." I looked past her into what had been my bedroom for my entire life. The walls, once covered with my posters and shelves, were now a soft pink. Brianna was arranging her makeup on a new vanity table, where my desk had once stood. Something inside me hardened in that moment. Without a word, I turned and went to the guest room that was apparently now mine. I took out my phone and texted Tyler, "Can I take you up on that room? Offer. Starting tonight." His reply came almost immediately. "Absolutely. Come over whenever. Door is open." I pulled my duffel bag from under the bed and began packing. Clothes, toiletries, books, and the few personal items I cared about. I left behind anything my parents had purchased, taking only what I had bought with my own money or received as gifts from friends. As I was zipping up the bag, I hesitated, then went to my desk drawer and pulled out the notebook where I had tracked my computer savings. On the last page, I wrote a brief note. "Since everything under your roof belongs to you, I am taking only what is indisputably mine. Do not contact me. Mason." I placed the notebook on the bed, took one last look around the room that had never really been mine, and walked out. Neither of my parents was in the living room as I passed through. I could hear Brianna on the phone in her new bedroom talking excitedly about her upcoming trip. I closed the front door quietly behind me, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a dramatic exit. The walk to Tyler House took 20 minutes each step, carrying me further from my past and toward whatever uncertain future awaited me. For the first time in days, despite everything, I felt like I could breathe again. The first weeks of independence were a crash course in adult responsibilities. Tyler's parents welcomed me with open arms, refusing to accept rent for the first month while I got on my feet. "Focus on saving," Mr. Anderson advised. "Build your emergency fund first, then worry about contributing." Their kindness was overwhelming, so different from the conditional love I had grown up with. I promised myself I would repay their generosity someday. True to his word, Mr. Harvey increased my hours at the computer store, moving me from part-time to nearly full-time. More importantly, he began teaching me advanced repair techniques and customer service skills. "The technical knowledge is important," he explained, while showing me how to diagnose a particularly tricky motherboard issue, "but understanding people is equally valuable. In this business, you are not just fixing machines. You are solving problems for humans who depend on these devices." My first paycheck from the increased hours allowed me to open a new bank account at a different bank from the one my parents used. I had learned my lesson about financial entanglement. This account was solely in my name, with no possibility of parental access. "I want to make sure this account is completely independent," I explained to the bank representative. "My parents cannot have any access to it, even in an emergency." "You are 18, so legally that is your right," she assured me. "This account is exclusively yours." The sense of security that came with that small plastic debit card was remarkable. For the first time, my money was truly my own. Meanwhile, my parents made several attempts to contact me. Their voice messages evolved from angry demands that I return home immediately to guilt-ridden pleas about family sticking together. "Mason, this rebellion has gone on long enough," my father said in an early message. "Come home now, and we will discuss your behavior." A week later, "Your mother is worried sick about you. Is this how you repay us for raising you? By running away? And finally, please call us back, Mason. We miss you. Family should not be divided like this." I deleted each message without responding. The time for discussion had passed when they sold my computer without permission and gave away my bedroom. Brianna approached communication differently, sending text messages that alternated between insults and requests. Mom and Dad say you are being a drama queen. Grow up. Read one message. The next day, can you bring over my blue jacket? I think I left it in your closet. I blocked her number after the third such message. Social media became another battlefield. Brianna posted constant updates about her preparations for Cancun, showing off new outfits, expensive sunglasses, and even a professional spray tan, all presumably funded by the money from my stolen computer. Rather than torture myself with these posts, I deactivated my accounts. My energy needed to be focused on rebuilding, not relitigating the past. By the end of my first month of independence, I had saved enough to begin searching for a small apartment of my own. Tyler's parents insisted I stay longer, but I was determined to stand completely on my own feet. At least let us help you look, Mrs. Anderson offered. Rental agreements can be complicated, and some landlords try to take advantage of first-time renters. With their guidance, I found a studio apartment within walking distance of both the computer store and the community college, where I planned to take summer classes. The rent was manageable with my new salary, though it left little room for extras. The apartment was tiny, barely 300 square feet, with a kitchenette, bathroom, and main room that served as both bedroom and living space. The appliances were outdated, the carpet worn, and the walls needed painting. But it was mine, a space where no one could take my belongings or violate my trust. On moving day, Tyler and his parents helped transport my meager possessions to the new apartment. It is not much, I apologized, as Mrs. Anderson helped me arrange my few dishes in the kitchen cabinets. It is a beginning, she corrected me gently. Everyone starts somewhere. What matters is that you are moving forward. With graduation approaching, I focused on securing my academic future. Without parental financial information, completing financial aid applications was challenging. But the community college financial aid office was surprisingly helpful. Your situation is not unique, the counselor told me. We have processes for independent students. It requires some extra documentation, but we can make it work. Through a combination of academic scholarships, financial aid, and my own savings, I put together enough to cover my first year of classes. The path to a computer science degree would be longer than I had originally planned, starting at community college rather than university, but the destination remained the same. Graduation day arrived with mixed emotions. I attended the ceremony alone, declining the Andersons' offer to accompany me. As I crossed the stage to receive my diploma, I scanned the audience, briefly spotting my parents and Brianna in the middle section. My father nodded stiffly when our eyes met. My mother wiped a tear. Brianna was looking at her phone. I felt nothing, neither anger nor sadness, just a calm certainty that I was on the right path, however difficult. After the ceremony, I avoided the family section, instead finding Mr. Harvey, who had surprised me by attending. "Proud of you, kid," he said, handing me a small package. A graduation gift. Inside was a high-end graphics card, the exact model that had been in my sold computer. "I cannot accept this," I protested, knowing how expensive it was. "You can and you will," he insisted. "I have some other components back at the store. Nothing fancy, but enough to start rebuilding. You earned this, Mason." Over the next month, working piece by piece, I slowly assembled a new computer system. Some parts were new, purchased with carefully saved funds. Others were refurbished components. Mr. Harvey set aside for me from store repairs. The finished system was not as powerful as my original build, but it was functional enough to run development software and handle my programming projects. The day I powered up the completed system in my small apartment, I felt a sense of accomplishment even greater than the first time. This computer represented not just hard work, but resilience and independence. No one could take this one away from me. As summer began, I settled into a rhythm of work and study. My community college classes challenged me academically, while my increasing responsibilities at the computer store built my professional skills. I made new friends among my classmates, many of whom were also balancing work and education. By August, I had been accepted to the state university for the following year, with a partial scholarship based on my community college performance. The computer science program was well regarded, and credits from my community college would transfer, keeping me on track for a 4-year graduation. When I shared the news with Mr. Harvey, he insisted on closing the shop early to celebrate. I knew you would do it, he said, clapping me on the shoulder. Never doubted for a second. As summer turned to fall and I prepared to move into the university dorms, I reflected on how much had changed in just a few months. The betrayal that had seemed like the end of my world had instead been the beginning of a new, more independent life. I had lost a computer but gained confidence skills and true supportive relationships. My new roommate, Jared, turned out to be a fellow computer science major with an interest in game development. We clicked immediately, staying up late, discussing programming languages and game mechanics. "You seem really together for a freshman," he commented one night as we set up our computers side by side on our desks. "Most people are a mess their first semester." I smiled, thinking of all I had been through to reach this point. I had to grow up fast. Midway through my freshman year, I had settled into college life completely. My computer science courses were challenging but rewarding, confirming that I had chosen the right path. I excelled particularly in software development, where my years of self-teaching gave me an advantage over classmates who were just beginning to code. A small app I developed for a class project, a simple tool to help students organize their study schedules, gained unexpected popularity on campus. When a local tech blog featured it, downloads increased, and I began receiving a modest income from premium version upgrades. "You should think about expanding this," my professor suggested after class one day. "There is real potential here." The validation from someone I respected meant more than the small income the app generated. For the first time, I could see a clear path from my current studies to future career success. My routine of classes, coding, and occasional social events with new friends was comfortable and productive. I had almost completely put thoughts of my family behind me, focusing instead on building my future. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, as I crossed the student union courtyard, I heard a familiar voice. "Mason, Mason, wait up." I turned to see Brianna hurrying toward me, wearing designer jeans and carrying a coffee cup from the expensive cafe near campus. My first instinct was to keep walking, but curiosity got the better of me. I stopped, waiting for her to catch up. "I thought that was you," she said, slightly breathless. "You look different." I had changed, physically gaining muscle from the university gym and cutting my hair shorter, but I suspected she was referring to something less tangible. The uncertain teenager she had known was gone. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "I go here now," she replied. "Just started this semester. Business administration." This was surprising news. Brianna had never shown much interest in academics, and our state university had reasonably selective admissions standards. "Congratulations," I said, preparing to continue on my way. "Wait," she grabbed my arm. "Can we talk? Maybe get coffee? I have missed you." The sincerity in her voice seemed genuine, which made me wary. In my experience, Brianna only sought me out when she wanted something. Nevertheless, I agreed to a brief conversation at an outdoor table of the campus coffee shop. We sat across from each other like strangers, which in many ways we were. "So, how have you been?" she asked, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "Good," I replied simply. "Classes are going well. You?" "Okay, I guess." She looked down. "College is harder than I expected." An awkward silence fell between us. Finally, Brianna sighed heavily. "Look, I know things ended badly at home. I wanted to say I am sorry about your computer. I did not know Dad was going to sell it until after it was done." I studied her face, trying to determine if her apology was genuine. "But you were happy to spend the money." She had the grace to look embarrassed. "Yeah, well, things are different now. Dad got demoted at work. Budget cuts or something. Mom has not sold a house in months. They cannot afford to help me much anymore. Now we reached the true purpose of this reunion. So you tracked me down because you need money." "Not tracked you down," she protested. "I knew you went here. And it is not like that. I need help with some textbooks for next semester. My scholarship does not cover books, and they are so expensive. Just a loan until I can get a part-time job." I almost laughed at the irony. Now she was asking me for money for textbooks after my computer had been sold for her educational spring break trip. "Have you tried working 3 jobs?" I asked pointedly. "That is what I did when I needed money." Her expression hardened. You always think you are so much better than everyone else do, not you, Mr. Perfect, with his computer programs and scholarships. Some of us have different skills, like spending other people's money. She stood up abruptly, knocking over her coffee cup. Forget it. I knew this was a mistake. Enjoy your high horse, Mason. As she stormed off, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Part of me felt satisfaction at refusing her request, but another part felt sad for the relationship that had been broken beyond repair. Later that evening, I received a text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of Brianna's social media post. Cancun Round 2 Spring Break is going to be epic, followed by emojis of palm trees and cocktails. The text came with a message. Thought you should see what your sister really wanted money for. Not textbooks. Sorry, man. Tyler. So Brianna had lied again. The textbook money was actually for another vacation. Some things never changed. 2 weeks later, as I was leaving my programming fundamentals class, I spotted two familiar figures standing awkwardly near the computer science building entrance. My parents. My father looked older than I, remembered his hair grayer, his posture less commanding. My mother seemed thinner, worry lines creasing her forehead. They spotted me at the same moment I saw them. Mason, my mother called, moving toward me with arms outstretched as if for a hug. I stopped several feet away, not stepping into her embrace. What are you doing here? We need to talk to you, my father said, his voice lacking its usual authoritative tone. Your sister told us she saw you. There is nothing to talk about, I replied. Please just give us a few minutes, my mother pleaded. We came all this way. Reluctantly, I led them to a nearby bench in a small courtyard. We sat with me on one end and my parents on the other, an appropriate physical representation of our emotional distance. You look well, my mother offered. Are your classes going okay? They are fine, I said. What do you want? My father cleared his throat. We are concerned about your sister. She is struggling here. Her grades are poor, and she might lose her scholarship. We thought maybe you could help her study since you are doing so well. I stared at him in disbelief. You sold my computer, gave away my bedroom, and now you want me to tutor Brianna. That is all in the past, he dismissed. Family needs to stick together in difficult times. What difficult times, I asked, though I already knew from what Brianna had told me. My mother answered. Your father had some problems at work. His position was adjusted, and the real estate market has been very slow. We have had to make some changes. And you need me to help Brianna, so you do not waste the money you are spending on her education, I translated. It is not like that, my mother protested weakly. It is exactly like that, I countered. Let me remind you of what happened. I worked 3 jobs to save for that computer. I did it all myself, with no help from either of you. Then you sold it without my permission to fund Brianna's spring break trip. When I objected, you told me everything under your roof belonged to you, and if I did not like it, I could leave. So I did. My father's face reddened. You were always so dramatic. It was just a computer. It was never just about the computer, I said, my voice steady. It was about respect. You never respected me, my work, or my dreams. You still do not. That is not true, my mother interjected. We always wanted what was best for you. No, I corrected her. You wanted what was easiest for you. There is a difference. I stood up, having heard enough. I am not going to help Brianna. She needs to learn to solve her own problems just like I had to. If she cannot handle college academics, maybe she should consider community college first, like I did. It is more affordable anyway. You selfish, ungrateful. My father began standing up as well. I cut him off. Do not call me ungrateful. I have never been given anything to be grateful for. Everything I have I earned myself, including the right to walk away from toxic relationships. My mother was crying now. Please, Mason. We are still your parents. We love you. For a moment I felt my resolve waver. Then I remembered the note they had left me, the casual way they had dismissed my feelings, the years of favoritism. If you truly loved me, you would have supported my dreams instead of sabotaging them to fund Brianna lifestyle. I have built a good life without your help. I suggest you let Brianna do the same." Without waiting for their response, I turned and walked away, ignoring my father calls to come back. Each step felt like shedding another layer of obligation and guilt that had been unfairly placed on my shoulders. I did not look back. 2 years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. My small app had grown into a suite of student productivity tools with over 50,000 users across multiple campuses. What had started as a class project was now a legitimate small business generating enough income to cover my tuition and living expenses. The summer after my junior year, I secured a prestigious internship at Tech Fusion, a growing software company in Minneapolis. The experience was invaluable, providing real-world application of my studies and connections within the industry. At the end of the internship, my supervisor hinted strongly that a job offer would be waiting for me after graduation. "You have got something special, Mason," he told me during my final evaluation. "A combination of technical skill and drive that we do not see often in interns. We would be lucky to have you on our team permanently." With my improved financial situation, I moved out of the cramped dorm rooms into a comfortable one-bedroom apartment near campus. It was nothing luxurious, but having my own space after years of shared living was a significant milestone. One Saturday morning, as I was setting up my new home office, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it, assuming it was a telemarketer, but answered at the last moment. "Mason, it is Aunt Linda, your mother's sister." I was surprised to hear from her. Aunt Linda had always been kind to me growing up, but we had never been particularly close, and I had not spoken to her since leaving home. "Aunt Linda, hi. Is everything okay?" "Yes and no," she replied. "I am in town for a conference and wondered if we might meet for lunch. There are some things I think you should know." Curiosity outweighed caution, and I agreed to meet her at a restaurant near campus. When I arrived, I found her already seated, looking much the same as I remembered, with her practical haircut and kind eyes. "You look wonderful," she said, standing to hug me. "College clearly agrees with you." Over lunch, she explained the purpose of her visit. "I want to talk to you about your parents. Not to pressure you to reconcile," she added quickly, seeing my expression, "but to give you some context you might not have." She revealed that my parents' financial troubles had begun years earlier, well before they sold my computer. My father's gambling habit, kept secret from the extended family, had created substantial debt. My mother's real estate career had never been as successful as they pretended. They had been living beyond their means for years, maintaining appearances while credit card debt mounted. "They made terrible choices," Aunt Linda acknowledged, "and treated you very unfairly. Nothing excuses that. But I thought you should know the full picture." She went on to explain that after my father's demotion, they had been forced to downsize, dramatically selling the house and moving to a small apartment. Brianna had dropped out of the university after losing her scholarship and moved back home, taking classes at the local community college and working part-time at a retail store. "It has been a humbling experience for all of them," Aunt Linda said, "especially your sister. She is actually working for her money for the first time in her life." I absorbed this information in silence, unsure how to feel about my family struggles. Part of me felt they were experiencing the natural consequences of their actions and priorities. Another part felt a surprising twinge of sympathy. "Thank you for telling me," I said finally. "I appreciate your honesty." Before we parted, Aunt Linda handed me a business card. "This belongs to your old friend, Mr. Harvey. He asked me to give it to you. Said you should call him when you are ready." Curious, I called Mr. Harvey the following day. He was delighted to hear from me and invited me to visit the store. When I arrived, I was surprised to find the space completely renovated with new displays, additional repair stations, and a classroom area in the back. "Business has been good," Mr. Harvey explained as he gave me a tour. "So good that I am thinking about expansion. Maybe opening a second location." Over coffee in his office, he made an unexpected proposal. "I need a partner, Mason. Someone who understands both the technical and customer service aspects of this business. Someone who could eventually take over when I retire." I immediately thought of you. I was stunned, but I am still in school, and I have the app business to run. The partnership would be gradual, he explained. Start part-time, grow as you are able. Your software experience would actually be a perfect complement to the hardware side of things. We could offer more comprehensive services. The opportunity was tempting. Working with Mr. Harvey had been one of the most positive experiences of my life, and the business model had proven successful. It would mean staying in Minnesota rather than pursuing opportunities in tech hubs like Seattle or San Francisco, but there was something appealing about building something in the community where I had grown up. Can I think about it? I asked. Take all the time you need, he replied. The offer stands. That evening, as I researched business partnership agreements, I received another unexpected call this time, from a number I recognized all too well. My father. After a moment of hesitation, I answered. Hello. Mason. His voice sounded older, less certain than I remembered. Thank you for picking up. I was not sure you would. What do you need? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. He sighed heavily. I am not calling to ask for anything. I am calling to apologize. I was wrong. We were wrong, your mother and I. What we did to you was inexcusable. The admission was so unexpected that for a moment I could not respond. You do not have to forgive us, he continued. I just wanted you to know that I recognize now how badly we treated you. Your Aunt Linda helped us see that. And seeing how well you have done on your own while we have struggled has been a powerful lesson. We talked for nearly an hour. He explained their financial situation in more detail, not making excuses, but providing context for their poor decisions. He told me about Brianna's adjustment to working retail and taking public transportation instead of having a car. He spoke of regrets and lessons learned the hard way. Your sister has changed, he said near the end of our conversation. The entitlement is gone. She is working hard for the first time in her life, and I think she is actually happier for it. She asks about you sometimes. After that call, I spent several days reflecting on everything I had learned. The anger I had carried for so long had diminished, replaced by a more complex understanding of my family flaws and failures. They were not monsters, just deeply imperfect people who had made poor choices. A week later, I made two significant decisions. First, I accepted Mr. Harvey's partnership offer, committing to building a future in Minnesota. Second, I reached out to my family not to fully reconcile, but to establish new, healthier boundaries. I invited Brianna to meet for coffee first. She arrived on time, dressed simply in jeans and a t-shirt from the store where she worked, a far cry from the designer clothes she once wore. Thanks for meeting me, she said, seeming genuinely nervous. I was not sure you would want to. I was not sure either, I admitted. But I think it is time we talked. She apologized without prompting, acknowledging her role in what had happened, and the selfishness that had characterized her behavior for years. I never had to work for anything, she said. Everything was just given to me. I did not understand the value of hard work until I had no choice. Now I get it. What you did saving for that computer. It was impressive, and I was too spoiled to see it. After several more conversations with Brianna, and then carefully controlled interactions with my parents, I made a final decision. I would help my family, but with clear conditions. I offered to pay for Brianna community college tuition if she maintained her grades and continued working part-time. For my parents, I provided financial planning resources, but not direct monetary support. They needed to learn financial responsibility, not receive another bailout. Initially, my father resisted these terms, his pride still smarting. But necessity and my mother's more practical outlook eventually prevailed. We are in no position to refuse help, she acknowledged during a tense family dinner, and Mason terms are more than fair considering everything. Over the next year, as I completed my senior year of college, a new family dynamic slowly emerged. Not the unquestioning reconciliation my parents might have hoped for, but something more balanced and honest. They began to see me as an adult, with his own life and boundaries, not just their son who should comply with their wishes. Brianna thrived with the structure of work and school, discovering an aptitude for accounting that surprised everyone, including herself. My mother found a job as an office manager that provided steady income without the pressures of commission sales. My father joined a support group for gambling addiction and slowly rebuilt his financial stability. As for me, graduation approached with exciting prospects ahead. The partnership with Mr. Harvey was formalized with plans for me to start full-time after receiving my degree. My app business continued to grow, providing a second income stream. And I had begun dating Rachel, a computer engineering student I met in an advanced programming class whose intelligence and determination matched my own. On the evening before graduation, I sat in my apartment looking at an old photo of myself at 16, standing proudly next to the first computer I had ever built from salvaged parts. The journey from that moment to now had been filled with unexpected challenges and betrayals, but also with growth and triumph. The computer my parents sold had been just a machine replaceable and ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of my life. What mattered were the lessons learned through its loss, the independence gained, and the resilience developed. I had built something far more valuable than a computer. I had built a life on my own terms. Have you ever had something taken from you that ended up being a blessing in disguise? Share your story in the comments below. This journey taught me that sometimes our greatest setbacks lead to unexpected growth. If you found value in my story, please hit the like button, subscribe to hear more life experiences, and share with someone who might need encouragement today. Remember, true success isn't just about what you achieve, but how you overcome the obstacles along the way. Thank you for listening, and never underestimate your power to rebuild after betrayal.